C'est musica.
Welcome back to the Do We Have Your Attention podcast. I'm Aisha P, and with me is my incredible co-host, Paula B. Martin.
Hi, everyone. So happy you are here with us today. The discussion we have today, honestly, has been a long time coming.
Absolutely. And today's episode is a spin-off from season 2, episode 10, which was Vulnerability, a Sign of Courage or Weakness. So if you haven't listened yet, please go listen to that. But we decided to look more closely at men and vulnerability because while vulnerability is often framed as something everyone should embrace more, for men, it's such a more complex and layered conversation.
Yes, and unfortunately for a lot of men, vulnerability hasn't always been encouraged. From a young age, messages about being strong, self-reliant, and in control are oftentimes drilled into them. Those qualities can absolutely be valuable, but they can also make it harder to ask for help. It can also make it harder to share feelings and also make it harder to admit the things that make us feel overwhelmed.
Exactly. So today we want to explore what vulnerability really looks like for men, not just a buzzword, but as something that intersects with their identities, their expectations, their relationships, and most importantly, their mental health.
And with that being said, we are incredibly grateful to have with us today Michael Sonariwo.
Thank you. I was
AKA.
actually sorry. I saw your producer just messaged me. I said I was enjoying it like I'm watching the show. That's how I was just laying back like this, just like okay. I was like, this is some deep. This is deep. But I like it. It's like okay.
Yes. Our guest today, Michael Sonariwo, AKA Sonariwo on Deck.
What's up, everybody?
Mr.
How you
Sunday
guys?
Lachey.
Yes.
God bless you. How are you
All
doing?
right. Hello, Michael. And for our listeners who may not be familiar with who Michael is, Michael has refreshingly opened up about his personal journey. And we're honestly really honored to have him join our conversation today. He's the founder, event curator, and visionary behind Sunday at Ilashare, a premium beach experience that has grown into a cultural phenomenon, attracting over 5,000 attendees and cultivating a thriving online community of more than 100,000 members and with over 340,000 followers across Instagram and TikTok. Michael's consistency, creativity, and determination have led to collaborations with global brands such as Coca-Cola and Guinness, driving significant brand visibility and measurable sales impact. More recently, Michael has also shared publicly about being diagnosed with ADHD and starting therapy, as well as navigating grief. And his honesty and transparency around such a deeply personal experience makes him the perfect guest for today's conversation. So can we have a welcome, Michael?
Woo! No, I love how he was just taking in the bio, like, yeah, I did all of that.
That's
Period.
I can't lie. Please, can you just send that to me after this conversation, please? And that was very, very professional. No.
Yeah, shout out, Paula. But
Just
shout
went
out
to
to
you,
you,
Paula.
Michael, for doing all those amazing things. Like, what an
Absolutely.
impressive
Thank you.
bio. And thank you for
Thank you.
being here. Thank you for being here. Before we dive in, we usually start with the feelings check-in with a colors wheel. And so since you're a guest, Michael, we're going to ask you, how are you feeling today?
How am I feeling today?
Yes.
Feel good, actually.
Don't forget your feelings, Willow.
You know what's so funny? My friend was with me today. I actually took my friend to lunch from Abuja who went to Oxbridge with me, and we haven't seen each other in a while.
Aw.
So today, we actually got stopped by the police.
Oh.
And when it happened, we're thinking it's a normal stop, right? But then the events that now occurred, I told her, I said, you see, if you weren't here, you think I'm making up this story on TikTok, but lo and behold, something happened.
Yeah.
So long story short, the guy now basically wanted to stop me to check my papers, and he checked my papers. But then eventually he now was like, oh, I don't have the right paper. So long story short, by the time we argued about it, he wanted money. Long story short, this man wanted me to walk all the way to the ATM and even walked with me on the streets to go to the ATM just to go and get body. So by the time we came back, all that, I'm skipping the story because I don't even want that to be the show. But when you said how do I, when you said how do I feel, I'm just like, oh, that whole thing today. But I had a good day catching up with my friend, like just vibing, reminiscing about a lot of things. So I feel good. Outside of that, I feel good. I've just been, like I say, low key recently, getting ready for the summer. Because I'm going to be traveling about this summer. We're also getting ready for, the events we're going to be doing. And we're just taking a pause on everything. I think I've been on go mode the last few years that this is the first time I'm just chilled, laid back. So it's nice.
Nice.
We need a break. Thank you for sharing, Michael. And yeah, I mean, the reason why we do this feelings check-in is because we know that we can have more than one feeling at a time. So you're saying beginning of the day sounded stressful, but it sounds like there's still a bit of contentment and happiness coming with hanging out with your friends. So thanks for sharing that. Paula B, how you feeling?
I am feeling excited, a little bit of yellow. I'm also feeling a little bit of orange as well. I'm so excited for this conversation because this is my sit back and listen conversation. I'm not a man, so it doesn't have anything to do with me.
No, say that again.
No, I am not a man, so it doesn't have anything to know. I'm just joking. But I think obviously as women, it's also important for us to be allies just the way in which we want men to be allies as well. So I'm looking forward to listening and learning. And hearing from Michael today. How are you feeling?
Absolutely. I am feeling happy as well. So feeling yellow, but also purple, like you're saying, just open for knowledge and learning. And, we can have this conversation, but we're not men, like you're saying. So it's always nice when you have an actual man being vulnerable and sharing. Absolutely. And thank you, Michael, for willing to be vulnerable with us today. Yes.
And of course,
lots of times I've heard you guys say this vulnerable word. I'm like, what are we getting ourselves into?
No, I think this is going to be a really good, insightful conversation. And for obviously our listeners as well, just take a moment to check in with yourself, check in with your feelings too. This isn't just a conversation about vulnerability as an abstract idea. It's also what it really looks like for men to face pressure, what it looks like for men to ask for help, what it looks like for them to navigate shame and find healthier ways to relate to themselves and others. So with that being said, on behalf of our audience, Michael, when you look around in 2026, I know it's just the beginning of 2026, what are you already noticing about what it means to be a man today? And where do you see the pressures or expectations of masculinity playing out in difficult or tragic ways?
Okay, let's start with two separate questions. So can you repeat the first part of the question?
Okay.
What you said, how does it feel to be a man today?
Yes.
Today? Okay.
Yes.
I think I can only speak for myself when it comes to, I always say with men questions, you can only speak for yourself and give a general view of what some men might think. I feel good, but I know there's a lot of healing I have to do as a man if I want to progress to the next level, and a lot of discipline I'm going to have to put into my life if I want freedom, which is what I think all of us strive for.
Yeah.
And reflecting on a lot of, let's say, past decisions or life so far, I guess as a man, I know I'm blessed to always have opportunity to do something. I'm blessed to be where I am. It's very hard to be present in that as a man because you have so many things going on in the world and the outside influences around you. But I feel like I'm learning that to be a man, you have to learn to be very present every day. I feel that's what it is, of just being present every day, which is something, again, all these things I'm saying are things I'm now trying to learn how to do, not just this year, but moving forward. So I feel that's like, I think being a man is more of figuring out yourself so you can actually create the life you want. That's being a man now. The second question, can you repeat that, please?
Where do you see the pressures or expectations of masculinity playing out in difficult or even tragic ways?
Let's speak from a Nigeria point of view, because I live in Nigeria and we're all Nigerians. So I'll say there's the stereotypical thing of every Nigerian saying be strong when you're going through a traumatic or bad time. And the pressures from men, especially African men, are you can't show emotion, or you always have to be quote unquote strong, which I think is a very stupid phrase at this point. I think when people say that, oh, be strong, it's like, shut up, honestly. And that's and I think because I actually experienced it for the first time, not that it's just, oh, somebody I knew died or a friend died or something, that it's like somebody very close. It's like, I can imagine how people feel that are going through grief, and you're coming to them, be strong. They wouldn't want you to cry. It's okay. No, shut up. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Sorry, I apologize for cussing. But
it's okay.
Are we allowed to cuss respectfully?
Be free. Be yourself.
Okay.
It's a safe space.
Thank you. So you see, that's why I said that's literally, I mean, you guys knew my grandma is like, and that's the thing. I actually talked like this with my grandma, like where me and her were very like open. It wasn't like I didn't have to front and say, oh, mama, no, it's like Grandma Alpha. Like that's how we were. So even like when people are coming up to me personally, now this is my personal view of coming up to me, oh, it's okay, be strong. Mama would have wanted you to be strong. I'm like, nigga, please stop touching me. Leave me alone. Like, that's probably the one time my family, obviously there were times I was strong, like when we were in the public, like I never cried in public. That one is, I guess you can say, the toxic thing of being a man. It's like I never cried in public. But by myself, woo! I am a crier, like full on. I will cry if it takes me the whole day. Hey, bro, I'm crying, and I can tell everybody after a month crying. You understand? But in front of people, that's where the male side comes out of. Yeah, I don't want people to see me like this, and I think personally that's how I've been. My friends and everybody around me know I'm emotional. But I still know how to hold it in. And especially with my work, especially with what I do, it's like you can tell I'm emotional based off some conversations we'll have and some things I would openly say. But then there are a lot of times I've had to learn to hold it in when I'm going through something, again, going through grief, that is like, it is very toxic because there are a lot of thoughts in your head.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, as a man, you're literally trying to figure things out. And based off your situation, you can have an advantage where you're figuring things out with people around you. You have a parent that's there to help you out, or you could be by yourself. Everybody's situation is different. So that's why I said, just, even with that, as you get older, you start figuring out how to process your emotions or how to process grief. And as I said, you're figuring things out every day, which is why I said earlier, you have to just really learn to be present.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And there's a lot that you said that really touches on just the expectations, right? And the pressures to be strong, but then also how that ties in to already perceive being emotional as a negative thing. And for some reason, you referencing freedom, and I'm sure we're going to come back to this. I'm not even going to go into it just yet. It sticks out because I always wonder, and we've had conversations with other men. We've had some Instagram lives that we've done in the past, and a lot of those conversations with these men have oftentimes always referenced this idea of feeling stuck and like wanting to be free. So I love that you reference that as well, because we live in a society that's very quick to confine men into the idea of who they think they are and who they expect them to be, rather than who they are. So I really appreciate you sharing that perspective.
Absolutely. There's a lot of conditioning that happens, when you hear all of these messages, like people are telling you how to grieve, how to be yourself. And like Michael's saying, if you're not present, then it's so easy to take in all of these expectations and start performing based off those expectations rather than being who you are. And you kind of already touched on this already, but Michael, I wanted to ask, are there some personal experiences that you could share with us that have helped you shape your understanding of vulnerability as a man? So I know you talked a little bit about family, but I'm wondering if there's stuff related to like your culture, your work, or just personal moments or relationships, whether platonic or romantic, and what that has looked like for you.
So to understand your question again, you said, have there been moments, or what moments made me become vulnerable? Did you say?
Yeah, basically like life experiences that you've had that made you start reflecting on like what vulnerability means to you as a man.
To be honest, I think one, I always tell people growing up in America is probably the best advantage I ever had, because I always tell people again, I was born and raised there for 17 years. You can't, a lot of people say, yeah, you were only in America small. I'm like, 17 years is a very long time. That's my foundation. And obviously I've adapted very well living here. At the end of the day, I am Nigerian and I grew up around Nigerians in America. However, the majority of people I'm around every day were still Americans, and the way I was brought up in terms of the ideology or things I see are American culture. So I think, for example, like my favorite genre is R&B, even though at this age I don't really listen to it as much, but if you play it around me, I sing all day.
I remember you being an R&B singer in those days.
You see, like I had that stage, and that's what's funny. Like when you become more of a man, that thing just got pushed out of me. That is like, hey, it's on my private time and all that. I sing it, but there's some things life has, I've seen some things as man that's like hardened up a bit, but obviously I'm still a softie inside. But I'm saying like listening to R&B as a kid, you hear the lyrics, you hear the like how people react to it, and it's like, okay, that's already the first step. Because that kind of music now allows you to express yourself. And even just liking music, like me, I personally love music, so that's a form of expression. And I think being in that creative space from early also allowed me to express myself. Playing sports, because I was a big athlete. Again, I'm allowed to express myself if I'm the best at it, that nobody judges me. So it's like, it said when I play sports, if I'm the best at it, I could say what I want, could act how I want. And it's not that in a negative way, it's just more of, my personality. People accept, especially because I'm the best at that. Then if it came to music and all that, if you're actually talented or you know how to do it, people will pay attention to you. That is like, okay, I can express myself. Then, with adults and friends, the thing is, my mom and I actually see, like, my mom and I are like brother and sister, to be very honest, in terms of if you see us the way we act around each other, you think we're siblings, because we're always like jokingly fighting, but we definitely love each other a lot. And the joke I always say is like, my mom is my mom, trust me, as much as I say that, that's my mother, like. But the joke we always used to say is like, my grandma sometimes we have to mediate and be the mom between us when we're, especially as adults, when we're having those adults fights. But growing up with my mom, it allowed me to be expressive, because she was very, as much as she was a Nigerian mom, she was still very liberal, because we're in America too. So she allowed me to do a lot of things, and a lot of things I also had to figure out myself, like being the oldest and then being in a single parent home. Like your mom, especially back then in America, it was normal where you're 7, 8 years old, and it's like, okay, you're going to learn how to do this. You're going to learn how to start the car. You're going to learn how to do this. You're going to have conversations with your mom that make you grow up quick. By the time you now fast forward that, you have siblings. You're the firstborn, and me and my siblings were 10 and 11 years apart. So that now, you have to grow up a bit quicker, that your mom is going to talk to you and express things in different ways, that is like, okay, I'll figure it out, boom, boom. And in terms of conversations of like emotions and all that, like sometimes I could have it with her, but I think my community was the main thing that allowed me to express myself, because the way I grew up as a teenager in America was my best friends were in my church. So I used to be in the church all the time. Outside of being outside all the time, I'll be in the church every time because the pastor's son was my best friend. And then the pastor also was like our basketball coach for summer basketball. So we were all very close with him. We were always at like his son's house, and I'm there every weekend. So he actually was one of my biggest influences to allow me to express myself, because the pastor wasn't like your typical pastor, very traditional Nigerian man. But again, he was also open, where he knew he had like 15 teenage boys that are trying to figure out life. So he let us express ourselves. We could talk to him about anything, especially girls, because he knew, like, he will point out all the boys that he knew were girlists from then, me included, but he knew how he could have those conversations with us and still bring us back to Christ, that's a foundation. And also having those kind of influences allowed me to, again, express myself. And then I think by the time I came to Nigeria, I noticed how, like, being myself, especially as a teenager, made me stand out very quick. Because I think anybody that grew up in Nigeria, you know how it is with like secondary school now. You guys might hear noise because I feel like my mom and aunties are just arriving in this house and I'm just hearing so much noise. Okay. So coming to Nigeria, I remember in secondary school especially, like I still remember like going to Vivian Fowler as a teenager, like when I was 17. And I remember like my grandma, people were making a big deal of us in the house. Like the first day I was going to go to the school, they're like, my was not a kid anymore. He's a teenager. And I'm like, what? Like in America, we're around girls all the time. If you're in public school, if you're in the neighborhood, you're around people all the time. But then now, it's different because I'm coming to my grandma's school. So in Nigeria, that's like going to be a different dynamic now. You understand that? Because the way people are with teenagers in Nigeria growing up, they sort of put them by gender. They don't want that interaction. But I think for me, coming to Nigeria, as I said, if you look at my upbringing now that I talked about now, like having the family dynamic in church, having my mom now that, okay, I can express myself, I can talk. By the time I came here, it was very easy. So that's why I was like, by the time I'm in the school chilling, like I stood out because you have that kind of personality now. And nobody's judging me. My mom's letting me be myself. My grandma's letting me be myself. So I think that gave me a lot of confidence too, to be like, hey, if my own family is okay with me being myself, then I'm good anyway.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's such a powerful point that you just made there. Like, if my own family is okay with me being myself, then I'm good anywhere, because of course Aisha and myself were both licensed therapists. We work with clients. We know a lot of people who struggle with their own sense of self. Oftentimes, the origin of that struggle is in the familial dynamic and a lot of policing their own behaviors and just conditioning them to show up.
We went through that too. Don't get me wrong, we went through that.
Yes.
It wasn't like, we're not perfect.
There's a lot of, I always joke and say, with my mom, I had a lot of Ike and Tina fights. Ike and Tina fights, which is why, like, I also joke and say, which is why if you meet me outside, I'm actually not scared of anything, because I'm like, my mom was like, that's why I said we're like siblings. The first person I had to fight, the first person I was scared of. Like, do you realize, as a man, if you come from a single parent home, the day you're able to face your mother and break that fear, you fear nothing. I mean, you still fear, obviously, but that's why I said it's those little things that, trust me, even up till as an adult, like, I think, to be honest, growing up, my mom was cool with everything. It was in my 20s that's when and it's so ironic. As a kid, like, they'll let you be yourself. But in that 20s now, when they have those expectations of you, that's when everything changes.
That's so real, because parents do definitely have expectations of us. And I think, well, just to reiterate what Paula was saying, like, yes, we have the back and forth with parents, but I think the foundation of just having spaces where you can be yourself, I think that's a privilege, because not a lot of people have that, especially a lot of young men. It's almost like you're just conditioned into society, and then you have that role onto you, and you start acting based off that role. So I'm so glad that you had that space, at least to explore. And the expectations came later, but just having that foundation I also think maybe also helped you be able to actually fight back and, have your own autonomy and have your own boundaries to talk with your mom about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously I first met you when I was younger. You said 17. I'm trying to figure out what age I was when
you were 3 years, because you were like 2 years already younger than people in your set. So I think you were like 15.
So probably
babies.
Probably 14, 15 when I first met you. And I do absolutely recall you being what could be considered at that time a young kid who very much so was himself. And that was something that now, obviously looking at it in hindsight, was quite rare. And I think to some degree, there's a lot of what you're sharing as well that's now making the connections of the type of influences you've had in your life, whether it's from adult figures, whether from church or in your family. Definitely hearing a little bit of themes of strong women around you as well.
Shout out to the women.
You know what? So the thing is, I always joke and say, when people say, this is actually what my friend and I were talking about today about my TikToks, because she knows me. I'm like, if you actually understand my story, you understand why I talk about women a lot in my TikToks. Because again, being at Vivian Fowler, imagine being the only boy and you're around girls every day. You're just hearing gist. You're learning, like there's so much you're just taking in every day. And I think because a lot of people can't imagine it, they're like, oh, as a guy, you must have been thinking. I'm like, no, I used to actually just chill there every day. I'll go to Top Shop. I'm with Mr. Godwin. After that, once they finish their classes, I'm waiting for them on like the downstairs balcony so we can gist for like 2-3 hours before they go to hostel or they get picked up. So it's like, that's how my friendship with women have been basically my whole life.
Very true.
I've been able to make friendship with girls that is like, oh, these are like my guys. Okay, cool. I know how to set boundaries. I think, to be honest, that time is actually what taught me how to set boundaries with women. Because at that age, like, if you really, like, Paul, I'm sure you can relate, like, if you look back, I wasn't actually chasing girls. I can even count on one hand the girls I chased at Vivian Fowler. One rejected me. One, it almost worked out. There's a lot. But I still remember, I was like, maybe 2 girls I chased in that whole school. Outside of that, I was like,
you're part of like our clique. Sometimes I forgot that you were even the guy there.
Do you know what's funny? Do you remember this thing? You guys used to have this thing called bazaar or something. I remember like the first bazaar I went to, right? All the girls were like at first like scared to associate with me because as girls now, they're seeing the girls chill with this guy, so they'll be assuming this, assuming that. So it was very awkward. But then the second time I now came, it was like, oh, I'm just chilling with my guys. And all my friends used to be so confused when they'll come to the school to see me and they'll be like, how are you just casually chilling here?
Yeah.
They probably were so hyped to be around girls.
But you know something about that though, like going off of what you were sharing of just the impact of family, culture, and whatnot, it makes sense as to why a lot of these influences also shaped your vulnerability as well as a man in a way where you could also have healthy relationships with women. And that's something that we rarely see. And I know recently on social media, you had shared about getting diagnosed with ADHD, but also even starting therapy. And I might be assuming that it was prompted by the recent loss that you experienced. And navigating that grief and whatnot led you to therapy. But that kind of openness is also something that we don't always see. And it's not always common for men, especially publicly. I know a lot of men in my life and we have conversations around therapy. And these are conversations that not many of them would be very open to having publicly. So we want to ask you, what made you decide to talk about it openly, and what has that journey been like for you so far?
This is going to sound very funny, but I don't feel like I even opened up to talk about anything. Like, if I look at it, it was just another TikTok I made to just say, okay, hey, I know I have it. It makes perfect sense why a lot of things are the way they were, but hey, sure Nigerians can relate. And then it's when I see the comments and it blowing up that I'm like, oh, okay, everybody has been thinking the same thing. But again, typical
No one's
Nigerian
saying.
fashion, we don't want to admit those things. And to be honest, I can't start speaking out about ADHD, all this. I'm not an advocate on it yet. I still am figuring out a lot of things. Like, I don't know anything. And to your point about therapy, it wasn't actually because my grandma died. Like, obviously that added to everything, but it wasn't because of that. To be honest, I've been needing to do it for years, like with the pressures of work, the pressures of life, just there was a lot going on, especially with Sunday at Tilashe. I think that's what I tell people, probably like that probably brought the most stress on my life these last few years, like Sunday at Tilashe, building the whole thing. Like obviously to the outside, to the grace of God, we had a lot of success and I had a lot of fun, but behind that fun, building a business brand when, like I say, as a man, you're figuring things out. There are a lot of mistakes you will make. As much as there's a lot of success, there are a lot of mistakes. I look back as a business owner, like, fuck, or a lot of relationships I had, a lot of things I was balancing. That actually is what made me need therapy. That's, I think, navigating Sunday till I share, navigating, I always say jokingly, like the character of SOD or Sonariwo on deck to people, because even with my content and all that, it's like I said, I'm very self-aware that I know myself, but obviously to other people that see it, it's like viral. They love it. And I'm very appreciative of it. Like at the end of the day, it's brought a lot of blessings to my life, and it's also based off the work we put in. There's a lot of work we put in behind the scenes. I know it looks fun, but to do all these events, all that is like we're actually doing things. But yeah, I almost lost 30 plus moments. I almost lost my train of thought. Hey, God. Yes. So yes, what was I saying? I was saying that
you're talking about like opening up about the diagnosis and like going to therapy.
Yeah, so it was basically, it wasn't the funeral of my grandma dying. That probably heightened it. It was more Sunday until I shared navigating Sonariwo on deck. And just life. It was really that. I put a lot of things on the side that's even why I stopped Sunday until I shared, I think, after 2023. And mind you, this is at the peak. I paused it, the peak. We just had a Shake call. After that, it's like the last one that happened, sold out. But it's like God just told me on the beach. I'll never forget that day. He said, stop it. He said, you're not doing anymore, because mentally I was done. And then 2024 probably went through a very, very rough time, because I was eventually when I stopped the business, I had to split my team. I had to let everybody go. I had old partners that tried to steal money, tried to steal my Sunday Lashe name. Then I had all this rubbish on social media. And the whole time I was like, I have to keep quiet, because like I know myself. If I fight, myself, like as I said, like Sunday Lashe brought out a lot of joy, but it brought out a very dark side of me, because handling that business side, handling that image side, that ego side, because you're responsible for everybody. It wasn't just the event, it was all the people on it. Like we built Sunday last year as a brand with family, because it was I had so many people on my team. People used to joke saying, yeah, the first person was 20 people on your team alone, like for a beach brand like that, because we were carrying so many people along. It was meant to be a brand that brought all the young people together, and it worked. It did, But by the time, I always say more money, more problems. When the business starts getting into play, when so many influences are coming to your life, so many people that you didn't grow up with, like, as I say, navigating all that, we kept all the problems in-house. And that's one thing I pride myself on if I'm doing business or building something, like everything is in-house. So you as a leader now, you can't be the one that tells everybody your problem. And I didn't know anything about building a business, building a brand with Sunday until if I'm being honest. As I look back on everything now, it was like everything was being figured out each time. And that's why I said now, looking at it now, that's why I said that's what calls the therapy, because handling all that success, success, failures, ups, downs, people, is like, damn, okay, I need to really let this shit out.
One thing that I'm sort of hearing you say or depict as you're sharing is that going through the ups and the downs of obviously navigating a business, growing a business, life itself, but also still growing, because at the end of the day, life doesn't really stop. You also are developing and growing while you're also trying to grow this business that's pretty much other people. It's not just you that's benefiting from it, but people around you that are benefiting from it. It led you to basically seeing your human side. And you got to that place where you're like, oh, there is a lot that has been going on. There's a lot that's sort of happening with me. There's a lot that, and I guess thankfully, as you're sharing, you said yourself that you are someone who is self-aware. And from what I'm understanding as well, maybe faith too does play a role in how you navigate your life, where you were able to be aware enough to recognize that this thing that I have been maybe pushing or haven't really had the time to give time to, it is now the time for me to actually get help. And I noticed as you were sharing, you sort of reframed it as not seeking therapy, but you said needing therapy. And I think those two distinctions are very important things, because a lot of times with the idea of therapy, especially for men, we've heard this, Aisha, like we've heard this a lot. I don't need
all the time till today.
Please. I don't me.
I still, that's why I said I'm still running away from it fully. Like, as much as I say I started it, I'm not as consistent or not fully leggy, and I'm still doing little, but I need to be legging. It's not easy to just admit your problems and say, "Oh, I have this problem." No, but I know every Nigerian man, especially that. I even look at all my guys. Trust me, that's why I said that even with men amongst my guys, I have to be the voice of reason or be this. And it's like, bro, we don't need to be doing all these tactics, all this yelling. Right. Have you seen niggas play football in this country? Football is supposed to be a stress reliever. They're see so some angry. Boys come with the anger of God.
They're so angry.
That you have to, guys that you're good with, your cordial. You have to, I've had to sit down guys that I know we have gone out together, we have spent money together, we don't sitting down saying, look, my nigga, we are boys at the end of the day, but don't be yelling at me like that. I don't know what kind of stress you are going through. And that's how, and as I say, if you're my friend, if we get to that level, that's how I'll talk to you if we're being, because I won't disrespect you, and if I'm being disrespectful, check me too. You're allowed to check me. That's what I tell all my guys. So at least I know how I handle it. But from what I see with a lot of guys, especially because they didn't grow up like me, that I grew up in America, they grew up here. So the way they hoard and hold things in here, oh my God. Yeah, we all need therapy. We all, because the vices, I mean, I'm guilty of it too. We all just run to vices. And to me, I've always said weed has been my therapy throughout this whole process. I'm not, and to be honest, I want to quit at this point.
Right.
I low-key want to just take it. Because I was like, when I knew I was bad in it, before it was okay, I've always said with me, I don't mind weed. I'm one of those people, I'm an advocate for weed. However, when it's controlled.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Because at the end of the day, I still dream, I still this, but I know for me, my productivity has not been where I want it to be, even with what everything seems, because that has been my stress reliever in a place like Nigeria. Because again, who are you going to talk to? It's not, most of us men, and this is what we do. It's, women is either your therapy, club is your therapy. And that's why I said, even that one too, the way I thought, you see me, I always tell people,
oh, you are your own therapy.
Yeah, you are your own therapy.
Thank you. And like I said, when you try, a lot of guys, when you keep doing that same cycle of those things, you're just making yourself worse each time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I have been guilty of it. I know I've fallen into that Lagos trap as a business, especially and that's why I say you said something about faith being connected to it, because it is. Especially as an entrepreneurship is very spiritual. So that's what I've learned. And I know that's how many times sometimes it's like a last lose fight, because especially in Lagos, when you're going through stress here, you want to run and just hit some weed because you know yourself sober, you're going to get angry, but you can't be thinking like that. Stress is going to happen everywhere. Then on top of that, now the other vices I talked about, especially as a man, when you start making money, and you realize how easy, especially now, how easy it is to do things here. You have to really have a lot of self-control to not run yourself to those vices, especially when you're going through things. And you see a lot
Right.
of guys fall into that trap. And as I said, I've almost fallen into those traps too that I've had to catch myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I said, because again, therapy is not promoted here. It's like, look how you just said from that one TikTok post, you know how many people call me, oh, you did it, oh my God, I need that, oh my God, da, da, da. So why are you guys calling the therapist? I don't even know. That's why I said I can't say I'm an advocate, because I am just figuring it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even a conversation like this is therapeutic in a way, because like, I know they open up like this so normally. So it's nice.
We're very grateful that you are opening up. I think that something that you said that stood out to me was saying like you didn't even know what you were doing, you just shared, and like the feedback that you got. I think that that's why a lot of times we're trying to encourage people to speak out more, because you don't know who's also going through what you're going through, who is.
But it's also, you see, it's easy to say that, Okay, it's like, let me give you an example. When I'm making my TikToks, I don't sit down and make a TikTok thinking, oh, what's going to go viral today? Or which one are these girls going to like today? I literally, if I'm being honest with you, I wake up. If I'm in the mood to make content, or I've smoked the J and I'm chilling, okay, you know what? Some stories are coming into mind. Oh, yeah, let me share some stories.
Yeah.
If it goes viral, I know how to capitalize on it, either from a business standpoint or even from a content creator standpoint. And then obviously, content is about consistency. So I am very consistent.
Yeah.
Even sharing those stories, I know how sometimes I even still get anxious, very, very anxious when things go viral. Especially in a place like Lagos that's very small, because everybody now starts, and then you start realizing now that that's what I told you about earlier about navigating Sunday last year and the Sonariwo on deck character. And it wasn't like I'm being myself. It's just that's how a lot of people know me. So now all your stories, I hear that people are creating narratives of you. You're hearing so many narratives, so many stories of you. Then even your close people are coming to you about your own TikToks, asking questions. Tell me, like, what the fuck? Hey, you always telling me about my shit. And you have to now be checking people, now be setting boundaries and all that. And that's why I always joke saying when I'm abroad, I have more freedom, because like, bro, I'm not around my city, because there's pros and cons of being known in your city. Like even before content, I was already known in my city, but it's like now, sometimes I do, not like I get disturbed like a celeb, even though I made the celeb joke, but it's more like sometimes when I know I've made TikToks that go very viral, I know how it's very easy for people to recognize me. And even in my circles, I've realized a lot of friends I had before, if I'm being honest, I know how a number of people have changed. And to be fair, I say friends, and there are a lot of associates, which is not a bad thing. Acquaintances. I've learned, hey, you have more acquaintances than you have friends.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because when you now see how, like, I always say, even for me, I've seen how some people have changed towards me with content. Because personally, I have not changed. I am still the same person, or just I mature every year. But all these stories and all that, these are true stories of my life. At one point, you might have been part of it, you may have not. And when it goes viral and all that, people are seeing you in the perception they want to see you.
Yes, that's true.
So even if somebody that has known you, they won't even still. Yeah, many people will be talking about my TikToks, but you've not come to me to message me or ask me, and you know me personally. So you know what I'm saying. So that's why I said, like, it is very hard psychologically to now talk about just those things, talk less of personal things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Like, see how even the ADHD thing was just a simple, I've gone to therapy, just this. That narrative. Is there this? You don't know what people are saying, that it can create that anxiety in you sometimes, that I have to even check myself daily. Like, hey, it's social media, bro. Fix up. And then I have my close. I still have my close friends that keep things very present. That's what I said. So it is hard. As I said, it's very hard to speak up now about it. Like little things like that. That's how I do it. Then if I have a platform or opportunity, like, I mean, the Menizens podcast, to be fair, was probably the biggest medium in why everybody thought I was open, because that podcast was aimed at being men that are vulnerable. Right. So the conversations we're having, you won't see a lot of men have those openly. But we were the first ones to do it. And because I had a platform, more people saw it, which is why it was like, okay, men actually can't talk about these things. But again, how many other podcasts in Nigeria do you see them really having constructive conversations like that. Because some people have the same conversations, but they're not very constructive, that you're learning something.
Right. Yeah. Well, what you're just describing is the core of vulnerability, like putting everything out there with all the risks, all the judgment, how people may perceive you, and you just being yourself. And you're right, it does come with a lot of anxiety because you're just saying, oh, I'm just going to post this. And then people are sharing their thoughts and feedback. And you're like, wait, am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to see it this way? And so, but I think that is the core of vulnerability. It's like just being you and being honest with yourself and putting it out there regardless of how people perceive, because people are going to perceive regardless, right? And you also touched on something that I really want to talk about, which is how your friendships and your relationships are so important. And if you're around people that don't promote you being yourself, don't promote you like expressing yourself, don't promote, like, I love that you guys had that podcast, because I did think it helped a lot of men and a lot of people, period, just opening up and sharing how they felt, and normalizing conversations. What you said earlier is a lot of Nigerian men, or men in general, withhold expressing themselves. That is so real. I know Paula and I say this in therapy a lot, where we're trying to normalize, please just talk, like it's okay, like you're a human being. So trying to humanize the man, you're a human being first before you're a man, is so important, because if you don't express yourself, you start seeing that express in your behaviors. So like you're saying, with something like football that should be enjoyable, now we're fighting. I have seen some soccer videos where I'm like, from one small, like, this person scored, this person did not pass to you, you guys are now fighting. Like, that is part of the problem, is we haven't, a lot of men don't have that space to really express and say, this is how I'm feeling, or, why did you do that to me? Can we talk about this? And it goes straight into like behavioral expressions, because that's what's normalized and conditioned. Maybe if I show you how angry I am, you will get it. But I'm angrier, so you will get it. And it just becomes this battle of, I think earlier you talked about the ego. One thing in vulnerability is understanding your ego and learning to humanize your ego, because the ego can go left real quick. So thank you for sharing that. I really like the reflection on friendships and how it can really shape you being yourself and expressing yourself and being vulnerable.
Absolutely. And there's something that you were sharing, Michael, that really, like, it kept on just ringing in my head when you talked about the perception that people seeing you the way they want to see you based off of their own perception of you. And I really do believe that to a large degree, society does that for men and women, but we're talking about men today, where there is a perception of what it means to be a man based off societal standards. And if you do not meet that standard or that perception, if you fall outside of that norm, then easily it opens you up to judgment, criticism, shame, and of course, like you having your own experiences of shame, judgment from other people. It opens you up to even bullying. It opens you up to, and unfortunately, sometimes that also comes from other men and also comes from women as well. When you see men operating outside of that norm and that perception that society typically has. And I'm wondering for you, how do you think shame, fear, or perfectionism shows up in men's efforts to keep it together or at least prove themselves externally?
I mean, you see it in Nigeria every day. Every man is just trying to prove that he's made it. Every man is trying to show that I'm the guy, I have the power. It's like an ego fight everywhere. Like I said, I've been guilty of it too, also. That's why I say it still comes down to spirituality. Spirituality. It still comes down to that. It still comes down to that because God is the one that checks your ego, you know? And if you check your ego, that's how he blesses you. And it is hard being in the world today and in Nigeria trying to battle that, because there's so many influences around you. There's so many voices and all that keep coming back to you. You have to be present because it shows. And then the frustration shows also when you're going through things, you know, outside of the vices, the behaviors, the anger, the temperaments of a lot of guys now, the womanizing, if you can call it that, because that's a sign also.
Yeah.
A sign. It shows a lot badly in a lot of guys, and that's why you always have a lot of girls that have all these stories about men this, men that.
Yeah.
And those men can't talk to the women because they've been conditioned like, if I talk to this girl and open up. And I can't lie, I also understood something. The girls I date are not my therapist. I had to learn that.
Look at both of us like...
Wait, time out.
Please say it for the men.
Wait, time out. But with both of you, your cases are different because you're actually licensed.
Which is worse. Which can be worse sometimes.
That's what I'm about. So you're telling me I don't get that privilege for dating?
No. You go to a therapist.
Which can be worse sometimes.
Yes.
We have horror stories.
I can imagine. But that's why I said I even had to learn that, especially that the women I date are not my therapist. Because I noticed there was a pattern after, but during it I wasn't noticing that certain girls I was dating, I'm just, I'm going through this, I'm going through this, I'm going through this, that. And you expect that girl to stay.
Well,
the girl is not even figured out her own life yet. And you are coming here bringing, and because that's the thing, I know some of the girls I was dating, my own problem is not their problem. Their own problem is, something. Right. You are freaking one man. How do you want this girl to solve a business deal between two brands that you are fighting for money? What do you want to do?
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing she'll tell you, hey, sorry, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I'm so glad you brought that up because, yes, your partners are there for support, but a lot of times you do need to go seek out professional support. And Paula and I always talk about how therapy is a privilege, but trust me, there's so many resources out there in trying to even navigate this journey of like healing. And yes, so please stop using your partners as therapists. Go easy. Us, our therapists, we know it's not easy. So
I have resigned and retired from that position.
Amen. We're not doing that no more.
Actually,
never going back.
Just to quickly sidetrack, can I ask you a question? Has a man ever tried to confess something to you using the basis of you are a therapist to something he's done?
Yes. Yes. And then they'll come and be like, if you're just trying to be supportive, they're going to be like, well, now you're trying to be a therapist. You cannot win. You cannot win.
They'll use it back.
You cannot win. You can't win. You can't win here. You can't win for real. Oh, but thanks for asking because, this is what we have to go through dating as therapists. Go easy. Go and listen to our podcast. We talked about that in particular. You're going to laugh the entire time.
At the end. Wait, did you give stories in the podcast?
We did.
Please send it to me because I always had the toxic me is the old me, obviously, that I always joke about. Like the old me, would I have tried that card? I would have tried. I'll be scared because she can now use reverse psychology on me. But the fact that I thought about it, I'm like, a man has done it.
Yes. I'll send you the episode. Don't worry.
Yeah, send it to him. Okay, Michael, I love that you're so self-aware and you're talking about, this struggle that comes with navigating you, working on yourself, but also kind of still giving into some of those vices that give like an easy fixation. What does that process look like for you, kind of navigating you trying to be more self-aware, you trying to be more emotionally open and vulnerable, but also having to want your own sense of independence and still having that strength in today's society, at least?
I mean, now, to be honest, it's been a work in progress for some years. But I think, having my girlfriend has been a very big influence.
We love.
I think
love us.
she's really made me mature a lot as a man. And not that, because she's forcing me to do anything. No, it's that, when you actually get in a real relationship, you yourself want to change for the better.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of changes I already had to make lifestyle-wise, decision-wise. when I really said, okay, I want to do this. And they were hard because, like, bro, I've been living my life like this now this whole time. You want to come in the picture and to be fair, she actually has never changed me or anything. And even with my life, she knew what I did already and accepted it. But we always had conversation about boundaries, and even just me giving her that assurance, like, okay, these are the positions I will not put you in. Oh man, it's worked for me, and that I said it's made me also change my lifestyle a bit. Like before, I used to be out all the time in the streets in Lagos. Like now, I'm out with a purpose in terms of if I need to be out, I'm out. Which also for me is better because I've rested a lot more compared to like my going like the years before her. Like I'm out every night, and it's not been about partying every night. It was actually more for business, but you use the partying as an excuse because in the entertainment industry, let's be honest, that's how most of the relationships and businesses are done at the events at nighttime. But now it's like, unless there's a reason to go, I don't really go, which now also shows you a lot of shit, like who your friends are, who your guys are, because now, before, we had so many guys before because it was easy for us to be going to like weekend, all that, beach, all that, now my girl's like, hey bro, I can't do that anymore.
Right.
I mean, if I wanted to, I could, but it's like even me. So I'm saying about those decisions and boundaries. Like, I would just don't do those things anymore. And then you do lose some friendships, but then the friendships that are your friendships will stay,
Say
and
that
those ones
again.
have stayed.
Yep. I said, say that again.
So they've stayed. So yeah, as I said, she's been an influence. I mean, a lot of the vices are the only vice obviously now is probably like, smoking. And that's why I said even that thoughts of what I said earlier about cutting down influence there, where I don't really want to be smoking all the time with my girlfriend. You understand?
Right.
Like, even though we both are open-minded people that we can do it. And to be fair, I've cut down a lot being with her, but I've also realized, like, hey, if you're going to be the leader of the house, quote unquote, because even though it's a partnership, it's like you also have to set pace. She's like, because she's cool on her own, like she has her own control. She doesn't really do as much as me. It's probably even when we're together now that she might, do more with me because she's more comfortable. And that's even what probably woke me up to say, okay, it's really you now that's determines how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So that's probably, as I said, that's probably vice-wise. That's it. Outside of that is more with her. Right. And even when both of us are going through something, like we try and talk to each other about it. We've had to be not therapists for each other, but counselors to each other, to at least to a certain extent. And then if we don't know anything, it's just, okay, I'm at least here for emotional support. Last. But the answer, I may not have all the answers, same way she will not have all the answers, but at least the conversations we'll have will make us at least think outside the box, or think, I would say it makes me think a lot more in my decision making, in my business, because even the business I know with Sunday Atilashe, I hate that I'm admitting this because I say, you see. But I know a lot of my girlfriends were telling me that, with her, I've made a lot more better business decisions, and it's true. And there are times, because obviously there are times I'll sit down with her, even when I was going through shit, like there will be some fights I'm having in the house, I'll just be cussing on the come, oh, the fuck was spirit, you just see her.
Calm down.
And then from there, it's like, oh yeah, hang up, oh yeah, let's talk. And we'll talk about it and all that. And by the time we talk and all that, it's like, okay, you have a second opinion of what to do. And if you have a babe that actually cares about you, like she's going to at least pick the right decision for you. That's so what do I want to do? So that's why I said it's helped a lot. That's why you see, even talking about it, I guess it's made it easier having a girlfriend that, okay, you understand, you can actually talk to women. But you know what I said earlier about your girls that you dated are not your therapists. It's like now with other women that are my friends, I'm not going to them with my problems, but we can have conversations about problems, but I'm not dumping my emotional trauma to them. I either do that to a therapist. It's like, okay, we can talk about some things, but I'm not looking to you to answer all the questions.
Yes.
Very true.
Absolutely.
And that's really just the definition of true partnership.
Yep.
What you just described.
Yep.
I was going to say. I'm figuring this thing out still every day. Well, every day they figure them out too.
I was gonna say big shout out to your girlfriend. Like just
Yeah.
shout out to her because this
Shout
is
out
a
to Feji, baby.
yeah, shout out Fiji baby. This is a testament of how, like what Paula was saying, like a true partnership
Partnership.
does help you evolve. So I
Yeah.
like to say the word evolve because you're learning about yourself and you're learning through that process, what's helpful, what's not helpful, and becoming a better version of yourself and not lying to yourself, to be honest. And I'm glad that you guys have that partnership where it feels like a very safe space where you could just be yourself.
Yeah.
I love that you talked about boundaries, and it also sounds like you talk about accountability a lot because it's so easy to be in denial about holding yourself accountable. Like my man is always right, my woman is always right, but then you don't get to grow and just having honest conversations about where are we, where am I, can be very helpful. And you're saying it's not therapy, it's just support, like just communication.
Absolutely.
And just being there for each other. So I'm so glad that
without changing that person as well.
You just evolving.
Yeah.
I think that's the main, exactly. Like, that's the one thing I think we told each other is we're not trying to change each other. Is we can grow together. If there are things about you I like. If I don't like, I'll decide if I want to stay.
Compromise.
That's why I said relationships are, I feel like, I always say joke, it's a humiliation ritual because you go
humble die.
The amount of times you say sorry.
It's like humbling, but accountability. You will take accountability, die because
if you like, that's how you stress yourself. That's one thing we've said. So we're like, see, we'll both be accountable to each. If we messed up, I will say, and like I said, it's a process. We're dating for some years now, so it's a process that we've had to learn. I'll be on. Maybe in the beginning, I was probably the one that was struggling because I said, "What is all this accountability? Like checking all this stuff." It's like I know my life. You understand? Like my life is like this.
Right.
You can't tell me. At first, it was very my ego. Maybe the first year of us, my ego, like, yo, my life. You're the one that needs to catch up. And then it's like after a while, you now realize the person is actually trying to be with you, but you're not even giving them a chance or yourself a chance to work on it. Then by the time I just so happened like the first 6 months, or let's say the first year, 8 months of us dating, everything is going well, la share is up, all things good. Then the next year, hell.
Right.
Hell. And as I said, when you humble yourself, that girl had to take care of me for a bit. For some stuff that it was like my ego was so cross. It's like a whole Mr. Shit. Look at girl coming to take care of you. Or you have to at that period now. Remember, I always joke with that. That's the joke now. That's why I always say she gets spoiled now because it's like then you say, I have to say, can I borrow 50K? Can I borrow? And it's like a whole wait, 6 months ago, I don't understand. How did this happen? But she was there. That I think that's what made us get very close. Like she was there the whole time that she was like my guy. I always like joke that we have a very close friendship because she was there with me the whole time as like my friend.
Yeah.
So even I will be honest, like there was a point it did feel like I was treating her like a therapist because she eventually had to even open up to me about it because she's going through her stuff too.
Yeah.
So that's when I had to start learning. That's why I said relationships were humble you because by the time you have those conversations that somebody's telling you, I'm not really liking this thing, and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
But you know something, and I really want to make sure that I point this out. Like right now, you're also being very open and vulnerable in sharing about your romantic relationship.
I noticed that. I was like, you know what? Paula, I can confess now. Paula had been trying to disturb me for time. Half of me was doing what men do. I was like, I see Paula's one of those people I love for forever. Like you're one of those friends. Like I remember still to today. I can't change. Like you get. But I was like, emotional vulnerability. See, come on. I'm still figuring out. Like, but this is how I know you guys are legit because it has felt like a safe space that is like, I forget this is being recorded or look in a podcast. They got me. You know what? See, that's the psychologist in both of you working.
No, but for real though, like I really want to shout you out because this is an aspect of vulnerability for men that's very hard for them to do. Talk about their romantic relationships, as crazy as it sounds.
I just even, you know what, this is the first time I probably talked about, that's why I said, I feel like I feel like I'm just on a WhatsApp call or something with my friend. I'm like, it's recorded though. But
I do think it's so, what's the word? I don't want to say so beautiful to see or witness.
It is beautiful to see.
It is beautiful to see. It's beautiful to witness.
A lot of men too were private. Men were private because that's something, your relationship is something you also protect. Like, that's why, if you notice, I'll be honest, like, we both even said it from the start. We're not doing that Instagram couple shit and all that. Like, we're not, I did it one time, and that's because I got pressured from the ex I was with, because she's like, oh, you don't post me. Like, for what?
Yeah.
For what? For what validation? Oh yeah, when I post you, everybody's liking it, but behind the scenes, it's not really working out. Then everybody's in your business. Everybody's asking you about this girl. Me and her, we like made sure, okay, we are not doing that Instagram couple shit. Like, even probably when I posted that for the first time, I know we already both knew that this thing is going to blow. So it's like we already mentally prepared for it, but we knew we're not trying to follow up with this content. Right. In fact, continue doing what you're doing. Once a year, I give you that couple photo once a year. Don't break the internet. After that, see you next year.
But you see what you've just done. You have shared openly and vulnerably while still being protective of your relationship and your partner. And it lets you see that both are mutually exclusive. You absolutely can be protective as a man while also allowing those parts of yourself, those open, vulnerable parts of yourself show in a way where it can be seen as beautiful as I'm saying, so to speak. And now as we're sort of wrapping up this conversation, if vulnerability were to be normalized as actually part of masculinity, right? If we lived in a world where it was sort of seen one in the same, to understand masculinity is to actually see vulnerability, what do you think might actually change for men and society in general?
Sorry, can you repeat? You lost me at the masculinity part.
Okay, so if vulnerability were normalized, let's say we lived in, what could we consider like a hypothetical world where vulnerability in men was so normalized, so accepted, so celebrated, even amongst men, what do you think might change for men and society? Or let's put it this way, what do you think might change for men in society? Yeah.
I honestly don't even know, because being vulnerable might always be the best. At the end of the day, men are still, I can be vulnerable with you, but I'll still make the decision I want to make. So I think it's more of not really if they were vulnerable, what would they do? I feel if asking for help was normalized, like genuinely for men, like you have to actually, even if you force us to go and do this, you may see some different results in some men if it was forced upon or more acceptable for that help. You may see some changes now because you're being forced to go. It's normalized in the society to go.
Yeah.
You may see some differences because, again, the decision you make is still yourself as a man. But if it was more open, who knows? You know, if it was regular, like, hey, I can actually talk to somebody, that my trust is not broken, because at the end of the day, it is it's still a thing of trust. And let's not lie, a lot of us men have trust issues, especially Nigerian men, especially with women. As much as I always joke, and that's why I said even my content, like coming back to it, I always make my content to just tell women the perspective of what men are thinking, but we just would not say it. Because I'm not attacking women. Trust me, I am not attacking. I love it. That's why I enjoy my shit. But I'm not gonna act like you all are fairy princesses, or we're not going through stuff. Like, there's the good of you, but there's a lot of bad of you that are making a lot of us men become the way they are. And nobody's gonna call out your bullshit, because we are taught not to even call it out. In fact, you see how already they attack. Why are you calling out? That's fair. That's not masculine. Why are you calling out our bad behavior? So I shouldn't call out your bad behavior. Are you okay? Like, does that make sense to you? What kind of
Right.
narrative is that?
Right,
So you
right.
see what I said? Even you see how already just like that, that's defense already that men are not ready to.
Very true.
Right, right.
Like even like I jokingly ask my guys, you all are on TikTok, but you don't have a profile. Because they watch all my content too. But they don't have their own face profile. All these, I don't want people to know me. I don't want people to. It's little things like that. It stems from things like that. Like I don't want people to know me. I'm very private. I beg, please. I don't, because and it comes from a trauma. It comes from a time in their life that they wanted to be open or tried to be open, but it went the other way.
Right.
Yeah.
So since then, you keep those things with you until you're ready to go to therapy, and then you learn to open up. You learn to talk.
Yeah. But you know what? I want to wrap this conversation using your own words, funny enough. And that last question where I asked about if vulnerability were normalized, and I love how you reframed it as if asking for help was normalized for men, what would change? What would change for men in society? And I remember earlier when we were talking, you had mentioned healing, being in this season of healing, being in this season of working towards discipline, and being in this season of seeking freedom. And I wonder if vulnerability or asking for help was very much so normalized in society, also not just by men for men, but also by women, by everyone else for men as well. What it most likely would do is it would lead to true healing with discipline, which eventually leads to freedom.
Freedom, right.
So using your own words.
You did right.
There. You see where I'm going with that.
You did right too.
It's your words. I just reframed it and twisted it around.
That was good. That was good. I'll give you that. That was good.
This was a great conversation.
Yes,
I really learned a lot.
I did, and I enjoyed the conversation. And thank you for your vulnerability, Michael.
Absolutely.
It was a very healthy conversation. Sorry, random question. Do you people do sessions, therapy sessions? How?
I'm sorry, but you can't afford me.
Says who?
Who told you?
We're charging in dollars.
I'm joking though. I think you can afford us. I'm just joking.
Yes, you can afford us. We're just messing with you.
Yeah,
you can afford us.
So I can afford. I can afford.
You see the seriousness in his face.
He's like, "Who told you that? I don't know me. You know me."
You see that? I'm sorry, because very Nigerian. Like, just like, how dare you? I can't. Right. How do you know?
No, we're just messing with you. Yes. Yes.
No, but I thank you guys. No, I really enjoyed this. Thank you. This was very nice, and well done to you. I think this actually needs to be a bigger podcast, even, because this is a lot of niggas need this. A lot.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll be spreading the word. We want people to learn and unlearn and just be better versions of themselves. Now, Michael, for every man, woman, anyone that's listening, what would be a final gem? I know you dropped a lot of gems. Like, I'm here with my pen, like, let me write this down. What would be a final gem you want people to live with? If they could take anything from this conversation, what would you want them to take away from it?
Well, same thing. Any advice or anything I say is the same advice I'll give myself. Is God made you to be yourself and unique. So stop worrying about everybody else and be yourself.
Yep.
Well said.
That's a good wrap up.
Very simple.
Well said. Yeah. Thank you so much. We admire your openness, your transparency. We admire your honesty. Yeah. We admire your accountability, your reflection as well, your humor mixed in between all of that too as well. Yeah. And we also really admire the work that you're doing. And as much as it might present as, like you said, content creation and whatnot, there's purpose in that work. And in listening to you as well, we can tell that there is purpose in that work. And I don't think you would fully know the level to which you are impacting people, and in this case specifically other men, just to authentically be themselves, and to see that that can be celebrated, that can be recognized, that can be accepted.
Right.
It is definitely something that I would say that you should be proud of as well.
Yep. Shout out, Michael.
Thank you.
Yes.
All grace to God. So I think that's something, that's another thing I have to start learning is, I guess, seeing how a lot of people take it. Because even my friend, I tell people like, not that I downplay it, but I've not thought of it that it's like, now I'm really just being present with it of how many people resonate with the content. Because I'm like, sometimes I always say I'm still figuring it out.
Right.
I don't have everything figured out, but I've also realized like, you've worked hard for this thing, and it's God that's brought you. So accept it.
Absolutely.
So I think that's one thing I'm definitely going to start doing. So I appreciate that.
It's a journey. It's a journey. Okay, Michael, where can our listeners find you on social media? Because I'm sure a lot of people, we're hearing all this content. So if it's somebody new that hasn't seen your content, where would you like them to find you on social media?
Sonariwo on deck, Instagram, TikTok. I was on a podcast called Medicines, but I've left now. I will soon be starting my own podcast by God's grace.
Okay.
Thing is, I'm still in two minds with it, let me be honest, because I also just want to take a break from the talking.
Yeah.
Like, I won't lie, I'll do more podcasts like this. Like, I will feature on people's podcasts, I think, to just start off and just have a bit of more freedom. Because, when it's your own stuff, you're like, You see how I could just talk my talk. That's what I want to do for now. So I think say for now, Instagram, TikTok, find me there. We will be on tour this summer. We haven't made the announcement yet, but at least I guess it's the first mini one. We'll be in America. We'll be in the UK. We're working on Toronto if we can.
Nice. So much to look forward to. Yes.
And we will definitely put Michael's social media handles as well in the episode summary, so you can find it.
Yes.
And to continue this conversation, because we want to make sure that we are continuing this conversation, whether it's your feedback, your questions, your thoughts, your reflections. You can also follow our podcast on Instagram and X at DWHYA Podcast. You can follow us on TikTok at DWHYA Podcast 1. And if you would like to shoot us an email, you can email us at info@dwhyapodcast.com. And to also follow this conversation and our hosts, you can find me at paula.b.martins. And Aisha, how can our listeners find you?
You can find me at ab.popola on Instagram and on TikTok. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Paula, for being a great host as well. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Do We Have Your Attention podcast is executively produced by Paula B. Martins and Aisha Popola, with co-production by Kyra Dosumu Ogundigbe.